Hi, this is TJ from TJ's Art. Let's set our intention for the year with this Word of the Year mixed media project. Be sure to download the supply list. Let me explain how I created these, then I will demonstrate it. I started with a small assorted wood shapes. You can get these at your local hobby store. I created the background gradient with 3 prismacolor markers. I used the lighter color on the bottom, the mid-tone color in the middle, and the darkest color on top. Then I went back and blended them all together so it looks like a gradient. Then I added interesting patterns using acrylic paint and stamps. You can use any type of small pattern stamp. Choose colors that will stand out against the background. For this lighter color, I used a yellow, and I used one of my clear stamps that looks like swirls. It really stands up nice against the background. Then lastly, I chose my words from a magazine and cut them out. If you don't have access to a magazine, you can search online for the word of the year and print out what you find, or simply write your word on a piece of paper and cut it out. The main trick to building the design is this clear gesso. You could also use Mod Podge or any gel medium that dries clear. This is the raw unfinished wood chip, right out of the package. I'll use my finger to add a thin layer of clear gesso. Then keep the gesso handy because we'll add it in between each layer. Get the sides too. You can let this dry naturally or use a heat gun to help speed up the process. The layers help contain the markers so they don't seep into the wood too much. I've chosen a light teal, green, and blue. I start with the lightest color, then the mid-tone color, and then the darkest color. Then I go back and blend the colors together. I'll use a little piece of scrap paper to clean my marker after blending. I'm working right where the two colors meet and using the marker in a circular motion, blend them together. The color tends to be a little sticky, so I'll use my heat gun to help set the color. I allow it to cool, and then I add a layer of clear gesso. Allow to dry. I have a rag handy to help clean my fingers. Okay, I'll use the heat gun to help dry it. Then next, I'll choose my acrylic colors. A quick way to choose the next colors is to use a color wheel. My background on the original was mostly orange, so if I go directly across the color wheel, I can see that blues would work, or working beside the original color, yellows would work. I'm looking for a lighter color that will stand up against the background. So for the darker greens and blues, I'm looking for a lighter color. So I'll try orange and yellows. Let me get my stamps ready. I'll use my glass surface to add the paint to. I'll wipe on a thin layer so that I can press my stamp into it. Then stamp around the edges of your wood chip. The wood chips aren't always exactly flat, so you might have better luck picking it up. Then I'll spray the stamp with water and use a rag to clean off the paint. This process is very forgiving. We're just adding interest to the background, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to add a little more paint, a little thicker this time than the first time, to make sure that we get a really good impression. Now the yellow really shows up well. Clean your stamp immediately so that the paint doesn't dry on it. I'll use my heat gun to help dry the paint. Then I think I'll add a little more pattern using the orange paint. Again, wipe on a thin layer of the orange paint to press the stamp into, then touch it to the surface of your wood chip. Clean the stamp with water and a rag or a paper towel. Allow it to dry or use a heat gun. Make sure you allow it to cool. Then I'll test out where I want my word to be placed. Then adding a layer of clear gesso. This allows the layers of the colors to stay bright and not turn into mud. I'll also add the clear gesso to the word and stick it to the piece. Allow to dry or use your heat gun. Next, we'll add more color using prismacolor markers. I'm blowing on my piece to cool it down a bit. Then I use my original colors again to add color to the word. I'll add a lighter color to help soften the color or blend it. Then using a burnt umber color, I'll go around the edge of the wood chip. I intentionally make sure it bleeds over to the front a little. Then I'll also go around the edge of the paper using my finger to help blend. It will help the word pop from the background. And that's it. These are the perfect size to place around your home or office to remind you of your intention for the year. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'd love to see what you create. Thanks for watching.